Rob Zombie's 2007 Halloween. Where do I start as far as coming from a point of view of Michael Myers' childhood starting off? So dark, so tormented. He was a sensitive little child, innocent to what was right or wrong, but at the same time, it could show the ways of how acts of love can kill. It's very interesting how Rob Zombie was able to capture that in a way of it not being comical. There's certain ways that Michael Myers is a comical horror film in certain ways, but it shows a more rugged, settled in the 1990s type of vibe to the film. Michael, he goes through relentless abuse at his home with his stepfather that is like a drunk, and he's also the son of a whore in quotations. So he gets picked on by his mother's past, which isn't his fault, but he gets picked on at school for his mother being a stripper and etc. On top of that, the goriness is not that much, but it's just the eeriness of the look the little boy that is playing this character for Michael has in his eyes. The eeriness of how people are looking at him spiral, but there's nothing they could do about him being sucked in the darkness. Um, his mother does play a part of enabling of that. This is my sweet baby boy, but there's so many ways that his mental health is plummeting to becoming a psychopath. But there's certain things that I don't want to spoil of the movie that shows that he still has love, but it's just shown in so many disturbing ways that is violent. This movie really goes in depth of what goes through in Michael's mind, just a glimpse of it. Maybe there's things that happened to him before this cut through the scene of his life, this part of his life. I think he's probably like around 11 or 12 where they started off at, which is a time that as a kid in your tweens or whatever you want to call it, you start having these emotions that are rising, these hormones that are rising. So it makes sense why he reached a certain breaking point at this age, out of curiosity of what death and what harm looks like, of certain ways he is deemed to be defenseless in. He does take the power back in such a unique, dark way. But at the end of the day, personally, I think it's wrong. I don't idolize Michael as as other people idolize him in certain ways of like this horror character is awesome and cool. It's just interesting. It's interesting how somebody could be such quiet and rageful, like they don't do any talking. It shows the dark side of people that have talked enough, that have cried for help enough, that have fought back with words enough, how they reach a breaking point when they're not talking anymore because they're filled with darkness, they're filled with rage, they're filled with hurt, they're filled with, in my eyes, confusion. As 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 in the way he is, Michael is very deliberate with his actions. He still comes off confused. He thinks he's doing certain things to redeem his family bloodline for his baby sister, etc. But it's such in a violent way. So, like I said, this movie really does goes down deep to a point how love can have a very dark side to it, and to be careful of that. Focus on your mental health. Focus on your children's mental health. At the end of the day, I'm a mental health advocate, but this is a very unique artistic way of for people to see the dark side of how the deepness of love can really have you in a deep mental anguish of harm that is done to people you care about, and harm to self because you're so used to being shown that harm and violence is the way to get a point across, but it also leads to self destruction. Check out this movie. It's streaming on other things like YouTube, etc. This is the best, in my opinion, in like such an artistic way. Like I said, a good way to look at Michael from a realistic, non-character point of view. This could happen to anybody. It's very disturbing, but very interesting to look at. Go check it out. Peace out, guys.